Any fighter pilot on board? The captain's scream ripped through the cabin like a gunshot. Mothers froze mid-prayer. Children wailed. Phones slipped from shaking hands. Passengers turned on each other in blind panic, crying out, "We're going to die! Somebody help us!" A man clutched his chest, gasping for air, while another buried his face in his palms, whispering, "Not like this, please, not like this." The cabin wasn't just afraid, it was drowning in terror. And yet, in seat 14A, while chaos swallowed 200 souls, a young black woman sat unmoved. Her head rested gently against the window. Her baby rose and fell with each calm breath on her chest. The only stillness in a storm of hysteria. 200 passengers were convinced death was minutes away. But Maya Johnson slept quietly, unaware that before this flight ended, every terrified eye on that plane would turn to her and beg her to save them. The turbulence grew worse. The plane lurched so hard that drinks spilled, a suitcase tumbled from the overhead bin, and passengers screamed as if the wings had snapped off. Flight attendants tried to steady themselves, voices cracking as they shouted, "Stay seated, seatbelts on, stay calm please." But calm had already left the cabin. "Somebody do something." A man in the middle rows shouted, gripping the seat in front of him with trembling hands. "This ain't right, this ain't normal." Another voice cried from the back. A woman pressed her hands together in prayer, whispering, "Lord, take care of my babies." And still, in seat 14A, Maya Johnson sat motionless. Her head rested against the window, her baby tucked against her chest, rising and falling with every soft, peaceful breath. Passengers nearby couldn't believe it. "How is she still asleep?" a young man whispered, his voice sharp with disbelief. "Doesn't she hear what's happening?" A woman muttered, eyes wide. Another scoffed bitterly. "It's like she doesn't even care." The whispers grew louder, fueled by fear and resentment. "Look at her, just sitting there like nothing's wrong. Maybe she took something. Nobody sleeps through this. It's creepy, man. It's not normal." Panic loves a target, and for a moment, it was Maya. But then, one pair of eyes caught something no one else noticed. 2 rows back, a man in uniform, quiet until now, leaned forward. He was a soldier. His gaze had fixed on the strap of Maya's diaper bag, half hidden under the folds of a baby blanket. There, catching the faint glow of the overhead light, was a pin. Small, weathered, but unmistakable. His eyes narrowed. He knew that emblem. Air Force Academy. His breath caught in his throat. He shifted forward, staring hard, making sure he wasn't imagining it. No, it was real. He'd seen it too many times to mistake it. That wasn't just jewelry, that wasn't a souvenir. That pin was earned. Sweat, blood, and years of training behind it. The soldier muttered under his breath, almost to himself, "No way, she's one of us." The passengers around him turned. "What did you say?" a woman asked. He shook his head quickly, eyes still locked on Maya. "Nothing. Just stay calm." But inside, he was anything but calm, because he recognized something else. Not just the pin, the silence, the kind of stillness you only saw in people who had been trained for hell, people who had faced storms before and walked through them. The plane jolted again. A man cried out, "We're going down." Someone else yelled, "This is it." The soldier clenched his jaw. He couldn't take his eyes off Maya. Everyone else saw an exhausted mother with a sleeping baby. But he knew better. He knew that silence. Maya Johnson wasn't just another passenger. And in less than 10 minutes, everyone on that plane would find out exactly who she was and why she hadn't moved a muscle until now. The captain's voice thundered over the cabin, cracking with fear. "We've got an unidentified jet shadowing us. This is not a drill." The words struck like lightning. Gasps erupted. Phones were lifted, red lights blinking as people recorded. A man shouted, "Yo, we're done for." Another yelled, "They're gonna shoot us down." The panic doubled, drowning the aisles in noise. Children cried, a woman screamed into her phone, "Tell them I love them." The entire plane felt like a cage of hopeless voices. And then, over the chaos, the soldier's voice cut through. "Sir, I think she might know what to do." Head snapped toward him. Fingers pointed to row 14. All eyes landed on the calm figure. Maya Johnson, still motionless, her baby rising and falling peacefully against her chest. Confusion rippled like a wave. "Who? Her?" Someone scoffed. "That lady with the baby? You're out of your mind. She hasn't moved since takeoff. Man, don't play with us right now." A flight attendant rushed forward, shaking her head furiously. "No, sir, she's just a mother with a child. We don't have time for this." Her voice cracked, almost breaking under pressure. But the soldier stood firm, his hand gesturing toward Maya. "With respect, ma'am, you don't see what I see." The captain froze in the aisle, sweat dripping down his temple. The rules pounded in his head. No passengers in the cockpit, not after 9/11, not ever. He muttered under his breath, "If I let her in, I could lose everything." The soldier's reply was sharp. "If you don't, we could lose 200 lives." A silence fell for half a second, broken by another violent jolt of turbulence. The plane dropped hard, screams ripping through the cabin. People clung to seats, crying out, "Oh God, not like this!" The captain looked back at the cockpit, then at the soldier, then at Maya. Still silent, her child breathing steady. And finally, his voice cracked. "At this point, rules don't matter. Lives do." The soldier didn't hesitate. He stepped into the aisle, steadying himself as the plane rocked. Gasps followed him as he approached Maya. Whispers hissed across the cabin. "Why her? What's he doing? She's no soldier. She's a mom. Somebody stop this." The soldier ignored them. He leaned over Maya's seat, his voice firm but low. "Ma'am, it's time to wake up." Her head shifted slightly from the window. Slowly, her eyes opened. Gasps swept the row. The murmurs grew into sharp questions. "She's awake? Does she even know what's going on? Why her? Why would he wake her?" But the soldier froze when he saw her eyes. Not confused, not afraid, focused, steady. The kind of eyes he'd only seen on runways before missions, eyes that carried storms. Maya glanced down once, her hand brushing over her baby, who still slept without a sound. Then, with calm finality, she lifted her gaze to the captain. The moment hung in the air like a knife. The cabin's chaos softened, just slightly, as if everyone felt it. And in that instant, the captain knew. This woman, the quiet mother everyone had ignored, might be the only one who could save them all. The cabin rattled with another violent drop. A man shouted, "We're falling!" A child wailed, "Mommy, I'm scared." And as passengers screamed and clutched each other, Maya's eyes stayed steady. Calm, focused. Because Maya Johnson had been here before. Her story didn't start in this cabin. It started thousands of miles away, in Charleston, South Carolina. She was just a little girl then, bare feet on cracked sidewalks, her world framed by peeling paint and the sound of freight trains rolling past. Poverty wasn't a word she knew. It was just life. Dinner was often cornbread and beans, and some nights, not even that. But Maya had her eyes on the sky. Always the sky. "Mama," she once whispered, pointing at a jet streaking across the clouds, "I'm gonna fly one of those someday." Her mother laughed softly, brushing her daughter's cheek. "Baby, folks like us don't get chances like that." But Maya refused to believe it. Back in the present, the plane jolted again. Overhead bins popped open, spilling bags into the aisle. A woman screamed, "We're done for." Maya didn't flinch. Her hand rested gently on her baby's back, steady, like a rock in the storm. Because she remembered Nevada, flight school. She had been one of the only black women in her class, walking into classrooms where stares followed her like shadows, whispers too. She won't last a month. She's here because of quotas, not skill. But while others slept, Maya studied until sunrise. While others folded, she pushed harder. Her instructors tried to break her. They didn't. One night, during a brutal drill, an older cadet muttered under his breath, "You don't belong here." Maya fired back, steady as stone, "Watch me." Back on the plane, a passenger yelled, "Why aren't we doing something?" The soldier's voice snapped back, "Quiet. Let her think." The tension thickened. 200 lives balanced on one woman's silence. Because Maya remembered her F-16 training, the cockpit pressing in on her shoulders, the roar of engines like thunder in her bones. She remembered banking hard, her body screaming under G-forces. She remembered hitting targets dead on when others couldn't even line them up. She remembered the day she earned her wings, the first time she touched the clouds and thought, "This is home." But she also remembered the crash, the training accident that left her body broken, the discharge papers that told her she'd never fly again. And then, the day her daughter was born. Alone, no husband, no partner, just Maya and a tiny heartbeat that depended on her. She traded uniforms for diapers, flight manuals for grocery lists. Her life came invisible. Just another single mom trying to survive. Back in the cabin, whispers hissed, "She's just a mother. She can't save us." The captain's desperate. "This is crazy." But the soldier kept his eyes on her, because he recognized the truth. Maya Johnson wasn't invisible. Not then. Not now. She had been forged in storms deadlier than this one, and the sky wasn't finished with her yet. The cockpit was chaos. Alarms screamed, red lights flashing across the panels. The radar pulsed a steady warning, a shadow locked onto their tail. The captain gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his forehead. His voice trembled. Post 9/11, if I let her in here, I could lose my license, my career, everything. The first officer barked back, panicked. If you don't, sir, we could lose 200 lives. What's it gonna be? Passengers outside the cockpit pressed against the door, straining to hear. A man shouted down the aisle, "What's going on in there? Are we safe?" Another voice cried out, "Tell us something." The captain's knuckles turned white on the yoke. And then, a voice cut through the noise. Calm, steady, unshaken. "Maya Johnson, you're flying too high in turbulence. Drop 500 feet, hold a 30-degree bank. If that jet's armed, you've just painted us as the easiest target in the sky." The cockpit fell silent. The captain turned, eyes wide. "What did you just say?" Maya leaned forward, her baby cradled in one arm, her other hand resting firm against the seat back. Her words rolled out like second nature, not hesitation. "Adjust heading 220. Cut thrust by 3%. It'll force the shadow to show if it's hostile or just running parallel. And if you've got chaff in reserve, prep it. Don't deploy, prep. Timing is life." The first officer's jaw dropped. She knows codes. Maya's gaze never wavered. Not codes. Survival. The captain's lips parted, but no words came. He'd flown 30 years, carried presidents, weathered storms, but the way she spoke, it was command, pure command. "Who are you?" he whispered. Maya answered with nothing but her eyes, steady, certain, resolute. The soldier in the aisle leaned forward. "Sir, trust her." A passenger shouted, "You can't let a civilian touch controls." Another fired back, "And what? Just sit here and die?" The argument swelled, the cabin splitting between fear and desperation. The captain looked between his terrified passengers, his trembling first officer, and the calm mother who spoke like she was born in the sky. Finally, he exhaled. His voice cracked. "God help us, you're in." Gasps tore through the cabin. The first officer froze, stunned. Maya eased forward, the headset placed in her hands like a crown, and the moment it touched her ears, some swore the plane itself tilted, not from turbulence, but from destiny. The headset settled over her ears, and for the first time in years, Maya Johnson wasn't just a mother with a baby in her arms. She was something more. The captain hesitated, his hand still on the co-pilot's chair. His voice cracked with fear. "If I do this, I'm finished. My license, my career, gone." The first officer snapped back, desperate. "Sir, if you don't, 200 lives are gone." The captain exhaled hard, sweat dripping down his temple. Finally, he stepped aside, whispering, "Take it." Gasps rippled through the cabin. Phones shot up, voices clashed. "No way, he's letting her in? She's just a mom with a baby? This is crazy." But Maya didn't flinch. She glanced once at her child, still asleep in her arms. Then her voice cut through the chaos. "She can't be here with me." A woman in row 13 reached forward, trembling. "Give her to me. I'll protect her. I promise." Maya studied her for one long heartbeat, then gently placed her daughter in the woman's arms. The baby shifted but stayed asleep, breathing softly against the stranger's chest. Passengers fell silent. In that single moment, a mother handing over her child to take the controls, Maya became more than a passenger. She was a soldier returning to her post. She slid into the co-pilot's chair. Her hands glided across the panels like old friends. Switches, dials, controls, they answered her touch as though she had never left. The captain stared in disbelief. His whisper carried across the cockpit. "Who are you?" Her eyes stayed locked on the horizon, her tone sharp and certain. Just someone they never expected to see up here again. The first officer swallowed, shaking his head. "She moves like she belongs here." Maya spoke into the headset, her voice cutting through the storm. "Level us at 340. Reduce thrust by 2%. Adjust heading to 220. Keep us off the radar's sweet spot." Her commands weren't guesses, they were orders. The soldier muttered under his breath, awed. She's running point like it's second nature. But the passengers weren't united. Whispers turned sharp. "This is madness. She's not even certified anymore. Are we supposed to just trust her with all our lives?" Others fired back. You got a better idea? She's the only one keeping us in the air. The argument spread, dividing the cabin, trust and doubt at war. Inside the cockpit, the alarm steadied. The violent shaking eased. The plane smoothed under Maya's control. Gasps swept through the rows. She's flying it. Oh my God, she's really flying this thing. The captain's voice dropped to a whisper only he could hear. How is this possible? Maya's answer was cold, resolute. Because I never forgot how to fly. For the first time since terror began, relief washed through the plane. But relief is fragile, because even as the sky calmed, suspicion boiled, eyes narrowed, doubt sharpened into something darker, and soon Maya Johnson would learn not everyone was ready to trust her. The cabin didn't cheer. No applause, no relief. Instead, doubt cracked the silence. A man in a tailored gray suit, Wall Street sharp, tie still knotted tight as if money could save him, shot up from his seat. His voice sliced through the cabin. This is madness. A mom with a baby flying a jet? Have you people lost your minds? Heads turned. Fear found a target again. Some passengers nodded nervously, clinging to his words because anger felt safer than silence. A flight attendant, pale and trembling, muttered near the galley, "What if she makes it worse? What if she crashes us faster?" The whispers multiplied. She's not certified. She's not even active duty. We're trusting a mother with no license? But then, a young man in a hoodie shot back, his voice fierce. "Man, shut up and let her cook." Scattered claps broke out, desperate hands slapping armrests and shaky support. The gray suit scoffed, his lip curling. "Cook? This isn't TikTok. This is life or death. We're gambling with our lives on some washed-up pilot nobody's ever heard of." The soldier in the aisle turned, his jaw tight, voice like steel. "Watch your mouth. That nobody earned wings most of you couldn't even dream of. Without her, this plane would already be scrap metal." The gray suit sneered, stepping into the aisle. "You're military. You defend anyone in uniform. But she isn't in uniform, is she? She's done. She's over. And now she's dragging us with her." Gasps rippled. Fear fed fear. The cabin split down the middle. "He's right. This is reckless. No, she's the only one who's kept us alive. We're doomed if she stays up there. We're doomed if she doesn't." The argument boiled into something uglier, voices laced with old poisons. "This is what happens when you let women take charge. No, this is what happens when people underestimate women. Y'all just don't want to admit a black woman might save you." The air thickened, toxic with fear and prejudice, and through it all, Maya never moved. Her hands glided across the instruments, her eyes steady, her voice low into the headset. Altitude stable, heading 220 locked, external contact holding position. Every command was precise, every movement surgical. She flew through the noise as though it wasn't there. But the noise grew louder. The gray suit raised his voice above the rest. "Mark my words, she's going to get us killed. The captain is a coward for letting her touch that yoke." The soldier stepped forward, chest squared. "Say one more word, and you'll wish turbulence was your only problem." For a moment it looked like the aisle itself might erupt. Passengers clung to their seats, some begging, "Stop fighting. Please, just stop." Others shouted louder, throwing fuel on the fire. The plane wasn't just divided. It was on the edge of tearing itself apart. And then something happened. Something so undeniable, so powerful, that every voice, from the gray suit to the soldier, fell silent all at once. The cabin was on the verge of tearing itself apart. Shouts, accusations, fear turning into fury. But then, every head snapped forward as the cockpit lit up in angry red. Warning lights flashed across the panels. Alarms screamed. The radar pulsed with one undeniable signal: hostile lock. The captain's voice cracked into the headset, barely more than a whisper. "We're done." The first officer cursed under his breath. "It's got us painted. We're a sitting duck." Panic spread like fire down the rows. "What's happening? Are they going to shoot? Oh my God, this is it." And then, Maya's voice cut through the storm, calm, controlled, commanding. "Bank left. Drop altitude. Now." The captain froze. His hands shook over the controls. "That'll tear us apart." Maya's eyes stayed locked on the horizon. Her voice sharpened. "If you want to live, trust me. Bank left. Drop. Now." The hesitation stretched like an eternity. Then, the plane tilted violently. Oxygen masks tumbled from the ceiling. Passengers screamed as their stomachs dropped. A woman cried out, clutching the baby Maya had entrusted to her. The jetliner dove. The sky spun sideways. The soldier shouted over the chaos, "Hold on! She knows what she's doing." And through it all, Maya never moved. Her grip on the controls was steady, her face carved in stone. Cut to the child in row 13, Maya's baby, still asleep, chest rising and falling as if the storm outside didn't exist. The drop ended in an instant. The jetliner steadied. Gasps tore through the cabin. And then, out the left window, passengers saw it. The hostile jet had overshot, its nose pitched upward, its wings banking wide, forced to veer away. It wasn't magic, it was skill. Pure skill. The cabin fell silent, the arrogance of the Wall Street man, the mutters of doubt, the whispers of prejudice, gone. In their place, awe. Pure, stunned awe. A voice finally broke the silence, trembling. She saved us. Another whispered, "She's the only reason we're alive right now." All eyes turned forward, not to the captain, not to the soldier, to Maya Johnson, the woman they had dismissed, doubted, and ignored. And in that silence, the truth hit them all at once. She wasn't just flying the plane, she was carrying them. But the sky wasn't her greatest test, because Maya's hardest battle was waiting after they landed. The jetliner pierced through the clouds, battered but alive. Newark Liberty Airport stretched beneath them, gray runways glistening under morning light. The captain's voice cracked into the intercom, heavy with emotion. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming home." The landing gear dropped, wheels kissed asphalt, the cabin shook one last time, and then silence. A safe landing. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the cabin erupted. Applause thundered, tears streamed, strangers hugged, sobbed into each other's shoulders. A young man shouted, his voice breaking, "She saved us." A woman cried out, "God bless you, Maya." Even the gray-suited Wall Street critic, the man who had mocked her, doubted her, pushed forward with trembling hands. His voice quivered. I was wrong. I'm sorry. You were the only one who could have done it." Maya said nothing. She simply reached for her child, holding her close. Outside, flashing lights filled the runway. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cruisers. But when the doors opened, it wasn't just emergency crews waiting. It was the press. News cameras swarmed, microphones shoved forward. "Is it true? Black woman saves flight? Ma'am, what's your name? Who are you?" And before she could answer, the first headline hit every screen in America. "Black woman saves flight." The story spread faster than wildfire. Networks replayed shaky phone footage of passengers screaming, the captain's desperate cry for a fighter pilot, and the moment Maya's calm commands steadied the storm. And then came the veterans. Men in faded uniforms, standing tall despite their years, lined the terminal. They raised their hands in salute as she walked past, her baby against her chest. Their eyes glistened. One whispered, "Welcome home, Captain." Another, "We never should have let you go." The Air Force issued a statement within hours, an offer, a reinstatement, the chance to wear her wings again. Maya didn't answer right away. She didn't need to, because her story had already rewritten something bigger. From invisible to unforgettable. But Maya didn't want applause. She wanted the world to remember what almost happened when no one believed in her. Sometimes the hero isn't sitting in the cockpit wearing stripes, medals, or a polished uniform. Sometimes the hero is in seat 14A, clutching her baby, exhausted from a life the world never bothered to see, just trying to get home. For too long, Maya Johnson was invisible. Written off, passed over, ignored. A mother, a woman. A story no one thought mattered. But when the sky called, she answered. Not with applause, not with recognition, not for glory, but because survival was in her blood. Because when everyone else was paralyzed by fear, Maya remembered who she was, and who she had always been. From poverty in Charleston to flight school in Nevada, to the F-16 cockpit she once commanded, to the crash that stripped her of her wings. Every scar, every sacrifice, every night of doubt had led her here. And when the world finally looked her way, it wasn't because she begged for attention. It was because she forced the world to see her. From invisible to unforgettable. And now the truth sits heavy. Because while you're watching this, someone like Maya is still being ignored, still being doubted, still being told they don't belong. And the next time the sky falls, the world will need them. The only question is, will we recognize them before it's too late?